For an in-depth look at the Colorado River, I want to bring in Alejandra Barunda, a National Geographic environment writer.
In the Grand Canyon, a cliff crumbled, revealing fossilized tracks of creatures that walked across a sand dune over 300 million years ago. Then, deep within the canyon, a massive hand-shaped rock appeared, its origins unknown, baffling experts around the world. And the mysteries didn't stop there. The Great Unconformity, a billion years of rock layers vanished without a trace, leaving behind questions that no one can answer. But the greatest danger of all may be what's happening now. Uranium mining, threatening the very life of the canyon and the people who call it home. Could it be that the treasures hidden within these cliffs are at risk? Let's unravel the Grand Canyon discovery that terrifies the whole world. Number 20, cliff collapse. When part of the Grand Canyon's cliff collapsed in 2016, it wasn't just another landslide. A Norwegian geologist named Alan Krill stumbled upon something extraordinary hidden in the fallen rocks, fossils that captured a moment in time. As a visiting professor at the University of Nevada, Krill was leading a group of students through the Grand Canyon when he spotted the fossils. What he found were the footprints of two creatures that walked across a sand dune over 300 million years ago. These tracks, now the oldest fossilized vertebrate tracks in the national park, had been sealed in the canyon's rocks for millions of years until the cliff gave way and revealed them to the world once more. But the Grand Canyon holds more mysteries. Near its bottom, explorers discovered a strange rock formation that looks exactly like a giant hand. It's so precise in its shape that it can't just be a natural formation. Someone must have carved it. But who did this, and why? Number 19, the Great Unconformity. One of the strangest discoveries in the Grand Canyon is actually something that isn't there at all. It's known as the Great Unconformity, a geological mystery where about 1 billion years of rock layers are simply missing. Imagine that an entire chapter of Earth's history gone. So how could this happen? How does 1 billion years worth of rock just vanish? The leading theory suggests that during a time known as Snowball Earth, when the planet was almost entirely covered in ice, massive glaciers moved across the land. As they moved, they scraped away the rock, dragging it off and leaving nothing behind. Another theory is that the rocks never even formed in these areas during that time. But whatever the reason, the Great Unconformity remains one of the most baffling mysteries of the Grand Canyon, 1 billion years erased from history, leaving behind only questions. What other mind-blowing discovery was made? Number 18, Cave of Dome. Hidden deep within the Grand Canyon, there's only one official cave open to the public, and it's not just any cave, it's a network of dark, twisting underground passages. If you're into exploring hidden places, this cave is a treasure. To get there, one has to hike down to the cave system near Horseshoe Mesa at the end of the Grandview Trail. The journey takes one away from the crowded village areas and into a quieter part of the canyon, where the views are even more breathtaking. The Cave of the Domes is an old miner's cave filled with limestone formations that have been shaped over millions of years. Inside, it's dry, dark, and eerily quiet, a place where the silence almost feels alive. On the walls are found signatures scratched into the rock by visitors from the 1900s, adding a spooky touch to the atmosphere. These days, they ask visitors to leave their mark in a visitor's book instead, but those old signatures remain, a ghostly reminder of those who came before. Number 17, Nautilus Fossils. A coiled nautiloid fossil was discovered in the Kaibab Formation. Over 270 million years ago, the Grand Canyon wasn't the dry, rocky landscape we know today. Back then, it was covered by a shallow sea, and this creature, a distant relative of today's squid, lived on the sea floor, using its tentacles to catch prey. This particular fossil is more than just an old relic. It's known as a holotype specimen, meaning it was used to identify and describe a brand new species. The ancient sea creature is long gone, but its fossil remains a silent witness to a world that's been lost to time. Number 16, Twig Figurines. Back in 1933, something truly fascinating was uncovered deep within the caves of the Grand Canyon. Split twig figurines, some of the oldest and most mysterious artifacts ever found in the area. These delicate figures, crafted from a single twig split and bent into intricate shapes, usually resemble animals like deer or bighorn sheep. Sometimes they even take the form of spears. The most intriguing part? These tiny sculptures have been discovered in 15 different caves across the Grand Canyon, and they date back an astonishing 2,000 to 4,000 years. But what were these figurines for? Were they simple toys, expressions of art, or perhaps something more sacred, used in ancient rituals? Crafted with such care and precision, they offer a rare glimpse into the lives of people who walked the Grand Canyon long before it became a national treasure. These split twig figurines, found across the western United States, reveal the creativity and culture of those ancient civilizations, leaving us to wonder about their true purpose. Number 15, Uranium Mine. Deep within one of the most breathtaking landscapes on Earth, uranium mining is happening, right on the doorstep of the Grand Canyon, a place that's not just a geological marvel, but also home to at least 11 Native American tribes and a cherished national park. Uranium, the dangerous and highly radioactive material used in nuclear power and weapons, is being extracted just outside the park's boundaries. But here's the thing about uranium. It doesn't respect boundaries. When it leaks into the ground or contaminates water sources, it spreads, causing long-term damage to the environment, the people, and the animals that call this place home. The Grand Canyon National Park Service is fighting to keep uranium mining out, but the fight is far from over. Despite efforts to protect this sacred and stunning region, mining continues, threatening the natural springs inside the Grand Canyon with pollution. Laws now prevent new mining claims, but existing mines still operate, inching closer to irreversible destruction. Number 14, Grand Canyon Cavern Hotel. A night at the Grand Canyon Cavern Hotel isn't just any ordinary hotel stay, it's an experience like no other on Earth. It's like sleeping in a suite that claims to be the largest, deepest, darkest, and quietest motel room in the entire world. This is no exaggeration. The room is over 65 million years old, carved out of limestone, and lies 220 feet beneath the Earth's surface. This unique hotel room is nestled within the largest dry cavern in the United States, offering a stay that's as ancient as it is eerie. The caverns, formed when the Grand Canyon was submerged under an ancient sea, have a rich history and were once a major stop on the historic Route 66. Visitors can take guided tours of these underground wonders or, if they're brave enough, spend the night in this colossal cave completely alone. So would you dare to sleep in a cavern 220 feet below the ground, surrounded by millions of years of history? Or would the quiet, the darkness, and the sheer weight of the earth above be too much to handle? Number 13, Shasta Ground Sloth. The Grand Canyon was home to creatures that seem more like myth than reality. Picture this. Towering sloths, as large as elephants, wandered through a cooler, lusher canyon during the last ice age. These weren't the cuddly, slow-moving animals we think of today. The Shasta ground sloths, for instance, were massive herbivores that thrived in the rich vegetation of the ancient canyon. Fossils, fur, and even dung, still stinking after 11,000 years, have been found in the dry, cool caves, preserved in an almost eerie state. Extinct ground sloths, unlike their modern tree-dwelling relatives, reached incredible sizes, with some species growing as large as elephants. The Shasta ground sloth found in the Grand Canyon was smaller, roughly the size of a bear. During the last ice age, the Grand Canyon's cooler and wetter climate allowed lush vegetation to thrive, providing ample food for these large herbivores. One Shasta ground sloth skull, discovered in Rampart Cave, was remarkably preserved due to the cave's dry, stable conditions. Alongside the bones, the cave also held pieces of sloth fur and large amounts of sloth manure that, even after 11,000 years, still emit a strong odor. Studies of the preserved dung reveal that as the climate became drier, the vegetation that replaced the lush Ice Age flora was still suitable for the Shasta ground sloth's diet. This suggests that their extinction was likely caused by human hunting rather than climate change. Number 12. Pseudoscorpions. As researchers delved deeper into these caves between 2005 and 2007, they discovered something entirely unexpected. Creatures that looked like scorpions but weren't quite the same. After years of study, it was confirmed they had found a new species, not true scorpions, but pseudoscorpions. These bizarre tiny predators lacked the venomous tail of their namesakes, yet they thrived in the hidden corners of the Grand Canyon, unnoticed for millennia. During the last ice age, the Grand Canyon was a very different place. It was cooler, wetter, and full of lush vegetation. This made it a paradise for massive plant-eating animals. Deep within the caves of the canyon, scientists have found the skulls of these ancient creatures, along with pieces of fur, and even something surprising sloth poo that still stinks today. The cave's dry, stable conditions have kept these remains incredibly well preserved for years. Instead, their stinging parts were in their pincers. Adapted to life in darkness, they don't have eyes, making them eerie, dangerous, and perfectly suited to their cave environment. Number 11. Chirawa leopard frog. The Chiricahua leopard frog is another fascinating species that calls the Grand Canyon home. Named for its distinctive spotted pattern, this frog was first discovered in Arizona's Chiricahua Mountains in the late 1800s. Today, it's considered vulnerable to extinction. As droughts become more common and water supplies dwindle, the frog's habitat is under threat. Even though these small, green, spotty frogs might not seem scary, the idea of their disappearance and what it means for the environment is indeed frightening. Number 10. Supai Village. The Supai Village is one of the most isolated communities in the United States. Located deep within the Havasupai Indian Reservation in the Grand Canyon, this tiny Native American village can only be reached on foot, by horseback or helicopter. Home to about 200 people, the village is surrounded by stunning landscapes, including waterfalls, blue pools, and red rock formations. Tourists can visit this remote spot, often taking a mule ride or hiking in to experience the natural beauty and rich local culture. Supai, a remote village nestled within the Grand Canyon, has a history deeply tied to both its natural environment and the resilience of its people. In 1910, a flood impacted the village, marking one of the many challenges faced by this community over the years. In the 1960s, a tourist named Martin Goodfriend became an advocate for the Supai people, drawing attention to their struggles through the writings of Don Dedera, a columnist for the Arizona Republic. Dedera highlighted how Goodfriend challenged the romanticized view of Supai as a Shangri-La, revealing the harsh realities the community endured. The village's vulnerability to natural disasters was underscored in August 2008 when Havasu Creek flooded, exacerbated by the failure of the Redlands Dam after a night of intense rainfall. This event led to the evacuation of tourists and some residents who were airlifted to Peach Springs, Arizona. The flood garnered international attention, with significant damage to trails, bridges, and campgrounds, prompting the Havasupai tribe to close the area to visitors until spring 2009. Subsequent floods in 2010 further damaged the repairs, delaying the reopening until May 2011. In July 2018, flash floods once again struck the area, leading to the helicopter evacuation of 200 visitors. The village faced another prolonged closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic, with all tourism halted from March 2020 until February 2023. Supai's geography and climate are as unique as its history. Situated at 3,195 feet above sea level within the Grand Canyon, the village is only accessible by foot, pack animal, or helicopter. It is the last place in the United States where mules still carry the mail, most of which consists of food and supplies. Covering an area of 1.7 square miles, Supai is watched over by the iconic Wigglyva rock formations, standing as silent guardians over a community that has weathered countless storms. Number 9. Ecoli. Number 10. Supai Village is something you definitely don't want to encounter in the Grand Canyon, especially not in your drinking water. While most types of E. coli are harmless, some can cause serious illness. E. coli, a type of bacteria, in August 2023. E. coli was found in water near Phantom Ranch at the bottom of the canyon. a spot where visitors often rest. The presence of this bacteria in the water likely indicates contamination from feces, so it's always a good idea to boil any water you collect from the canyon before drinking it. Number 8. Salamander-like footprints. The oldest fossils found in the Grand Canyon, called stromatolites, are between 740 million and 1.2 billion years old. These fossils were formed by photosynthesizing bacteria. The canyon's Coconino Sandstone, created around 275 million years ago by wind-blown sand dunes, also holds many fascinating fossils, including lizard-like salamander footprints. While these tracks excite scientists, they also stir debate among some creationists who argue that they could only have been made after a biblical flood, dismissing the scientific explanation of their ancient origins. Number 7. American cheetah bones. During the last ice age, the Grand Canyon was a rich hunting ground filled with large animals and their predators. Among these was the American cheetah, now extinct. For a long time, scientists thought bones found in the canyon's caves belonged to mountain lions, but later discoveries revealed they were actually from the American cheetah. These bones didn't originate in the caves. Instead, they were likely dragged there by scavengers, showing just how complex and interconnected the ancient ecosystem was. Around 20,000 years ago, deep within a Grand Canyon cave, a fierce battle unfolded between two American cheetahs, leaving one dead on the cave floor, its spine bitten through. This juvenile cat's remains, discovered along with fossils from two other Grand Canyon caves, have recently reshaped our understanding of the extinct American cheetah, Myricynonyx trumani. Unlike today's African cheetahs, known for their speed across flat plains, the American cheetah might have been more akin to modern snow leopards. These ancient predators likely prowled rocky cliffs, hunting mountain goats and bighorn sheep. The fossils, initially mistaken for those of mountain lions, were re-examined and identified as belonging to the American cheetah by paleontologist John Paul Hodnett. His research revealed that these cats lived in rugged terrains, challenging the long-held belief that they primarily hunted on open grasslands. This discovery adds depth to the story of the American cheetah, suggesting that it had a more diverse habitat than previously thought. The findings, which were published in the New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science Bulletin, illuminate the fascinating history of these elusive predators and their survival strategies in a landscape that is as unforgiving as it is majestic. Number 6. Vishnu Temple. The Vishnu Temple, a peak in the Grand Canyon standing at 7,533 feet, is named after the Hindu god Vishnu. This name, given by geologist Clarence Dutton in 1880, was part of a trend of naming Grand Canyon peaks after mythological figures. The summit, made from ancient sandstone and limestone, resembles a natural pyramid or pagoda, depending on how you look at it. The temple is one of many features that make the Grand Canyon a place of both natural beauty and cultural significance. The area around Vishnu Temple falls within a cold, semi-arid climate zone, as classified by the Köppen climate system. The formation's name, Vishnu Temple, was given by Clarence Dutton in 1880, inspired by the Hindu deity Vishnu, the redeemer of the universe. Dutton believed the mountain resembled an oriental pagoda, continuing the tradition of naming geographical features in the Grand Canyon after mythological deities. The name was officially adopted by the U.S. Board on Geographic Names in 1906. The first recorded ascent of Vishnu Temple's summit was made by Merrill Clubb and his son on July 13, 1945. Geologically, the summit of Vishnu Temple is composed of cream-colored, cliff-forming Permian Coconino Sandstone, topped with a cap of Kaibab limestone. The sandstone, the third youngest stratum in the Grand Canyon, was deposited around 265 million years ago as sand dunes. Beneath the Coconino Sandstone lies the slope-forming Permian Hermit Formation, which overlays the Pennsylvanian Permian Supai Group. Further down, layers of Mississippian Redwall Limestone, Cambrian Tonto Group, and Proterozoic Unkar Group can be found at creek level. Runoff from Vishnu Temple drains into the Colorado River via Vishnu Creek on the west side and Unkar Creek on the east side. Number 5. Coconino Sandstone. The Coconino Sandstone, which we've encountered several times already, deserves its own spotlight. This geological formation, named after Coconino County in Arizona, stretches across several states including Colorado, Utah, and Nevada. In the Grand Canyon, it appears as white cliff layer, varying in thickness from 57 to 600 feet. This sandstone, formed about 275 million years ago, is made mostly of fine sand grains and has preserved many fascinating features like fossil tracks, ripple marks, and even rain patches, making it a key part of the canyon's geological history. The Coconino Sandstone is a striking geological formation, especially prominent in the Grand Canyon, where it stands out as a distinct white cliff-forming layer. The thickness of this formation varies significantly due to regional structural differences, measuring only 65 feet in the west, thickening to over 600 feet in the middle, and thinning again to 57 feet in the east. The Coconino Sandstone is typically overlain by either the Kaibab Limestone or Toro Weep Formation. This sandstone is generally buff to white in color and is composed primarily of fine, well-sorted quartz grains with minor amounts of potassium feldspar. These grains were deposited by Aeolian processes, meaning they were wind-deposited around 275 million years ago. The formation is notable for preserving several structural features, such as ripple marks, sand dune deposits, rain patches, slump marks, and fossil tracks, all of which provide evidence of its Aeolian origin. Additionally, the Coconino Sandstone is of significant scientific interest due to the presence of Le Chatelierite, silica glass, as well as coesite and stishovite high-pressure forms of SiO2. These were formed as a result of a meteorite impact at Barringer Crater in Arizona. Number 4. Grand Canyon Vandalism. Vandalism in the Grand Canyon is as frustrating as it is baffling. One notable incident occurred at Moran Point, a popular viewpoint. Two individuals were caught defacing the rocks, perhaps misunderstanding the name as an invitation for morons to do their worst. Moran Point is actually named after Thomas Moran, an artist known for his landscapes of the western United States. These vandals, now infamous for their actions, serve as a reminder that preserving natural treasures is everyone's responsibility. Number 3. Bigfoot. The Mogollon Monster, often referred to as Arizona's Bigfoot, is a legendary creature said to inhabit the remote wilderness of the state. Described as over 7 feet tall, with red eyes and covered in dark hair, this smelly, elusive beast has been spotted along the Mogollon Rim. Despite numerous sightings, photographs, and footprints, the existence of the Mogollon Monster, like Bigfoot, remains unproven, yet it continues to capture the imagination of those who hear its tale. Number 2. Archaeological Site. The Grand Canyon is not just a geological wonder, but also an archaeological treasure trove. Excavations along the Colorado River, beginning in 2008, uncovered evidence of human habitation dating back 3,500 years. Over 3 years, archaeologists found signs of 6 distinct groups of people who lived in the canyon, each contributing to the rich tapestry of human history in the area. The Grand Canyon, with its deep connections to both natural and human history, remains a place of endless discovery and learning. The Grand Canyon's history is deeply rooted in the occupation of various indigenous peoples, beginning as far back as 11,500 years before present during the Paleo-Indian period. These early inhabitants, small and mobile bands of people, hunted megafauna such as mountain goats, ground sloths, and bison while gathering wild plants. Although Paleo-Indian sites are rare in the Southwest, one such site has been identified within the Grand Canyon. Around 9,000 years BP, environmental changes led to the expansion of different environmental zones, prompting the Paleo-Indians' descendants, known as the Archaic people, to adapt to new subsistence strategies. They hunted smaller game and moved seasonally across vast territories to procure resources. Their toolkits included atlatls for dart throwing, chipped stone tools, and ground stone tools for processing plants. Archaic sites in the Grand Canyon typically consist of temporary camps, rock art panels, caves, rock shelters, hearths, and various tools. Horticultural subsistence began in the Southwest around 3,500 years BP with the introduction of maize agriculture. The shift to a more sedentary lifestyle led to the development of storage cists, granaries, and eventually pottery by AD 500. This period, known as the formative period, marked the gradual transition to village life, with the semi-sedentary occupants of the Grand Canyon producing baskets, sandals, and storage features. Dwellings initially appeared as shelters in caves and overhangs, but by AD 500, circular pit houses began to appear, indicating the beginning of more permanent village life. During the formative period, pottery became more common, with graywares featuring black painted designs. These developments were associated with the Coconino peoples in eastern Grand Canyon. The shift to above-ground masonry structures, the replacement of the atlatl by the bow and arrow, and the expansion of agricultural practices all contributed to the growth of small villages or hamlets. By AD 900, Puebloan peoples were cultivating maize along the river corridor, as evidenced by corn pollen found on living floors. The increase in Tusayan grayware and Tusayan whiteware ceramics in eastern Grand Canyon signaled the expansion of the Kayenta branch from the southeast. Masonry surface pueblos and semi-subterranean kivas appeared during the 10th century, with gradual population growth leading to linear pueblos of 2 to 7 contiguous rooms. After AD 1100, an abrupt architectural shift occurred in eastern Grand Canyon, with habitation structures becoming more interspersed with storage rooms, fire pits, and outdoor activity areas. Pottery distributions also reflected a shift, with an increase in virgin branch styles. It is believed that these changes were more likely the result of trade connections rather than population influxes. By AD 1300, semi-nomadic non-Puebloan peoples, including the ancestors of the present-day Hualapai and Havasupai, occupied the river corridor of the Grand Canyon. These hunter-gatherers relied on a stable subsistence economy based on combined agriculture, hunting, and gathering, supplemented by trade. Their dispersed settlements included wickiup rings, rock shelters, roasting complexes, ceramics, and abundant flakestone tools. In addition to indigenous populations, the Grand Canyon saw visits from Europeans during the historic period, including Spanish missionaries, mining and tourism entrepreneurs, and more recently, hydroelectric power exploration and production. The prehistory of the Grand Canyon's river corridor closely mirrors the sequences of regional occupation and abandonment observed throughout the Southwest. The inhabitants were influenced by the same climatic changes that affected the entire region, with population growth along the river corridor likely a result of expansion from the canyon's rims. Because there are limited entrance and exit points into the Grand Canyon, many recorded sites at permanent water sources and along access routes show evidence of multiple occupations over time. Number 1. Horseshoe Bend. Horseshoe Bend, a breathtaking horseshoe-shaped incised meander of the Colorado River, is one of the most iconic natural landmarks near Page, Arizona. Often referred to as the east rim of the Grand Canyon, this stunning geological formation lies just 5 miles downstream from the Glen Canyon Dam and Lake Powell, within the Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. Its proximity to the town of Page, only about 4 miles southwest, makes it easily accessible for visitors. Reaching Horseshoe Bend involves a relatively short hike, a 1.5-mile round trip from a parking area off US Route 89. The land surrounding the parking area, trail, and overlook is part of Navajo Nation territory. The overlook itself is perched at 4,200 feet above sea level, with the Colorado River flowing 1,000 feet below, creating a dramatic and awe-inspiring drop. Geologically, Horseshoe Bend is a prime example of an entrenched meander, a feature that formed as the Colorado River, once meandering across a nearly level floodplain, became trapped in its bed due to the uplift of the surrounding region around 6 million years ago. This uplift caused the river to cut deeply into the landscape, creating the distinct bend we see today. The cause of this uplift remains a topic of scientific inquiry. One hypothesis suggests that delamination, where the lowest layer of the North American tectonic plate detached and sank into the mantle, allowed hotter rock from the asthenosphere to rise and elevate the overlying crust. Another theory proposes that heating at the base of the crust transformed the dense eclogite rock into less dense garnet granulite, generating the buoyant forces necessary to lift the region. This uplift led to the erosion of up to a mile of overlying sediments, exposing the Navajo Sandstone, which forms the canyon walls at Horseshoe Bend. In the future, the Colorado River may cut through the neck of Horseshoe Bend, creating a natural bridge similar to those at Natural Bridges National Monument in Utah. Eventually, the river could abandon the bend entirely, leaving behind a cut-off meander resembling the Rincon, further north along the Colorado River in Utah. Tourism at Horseshoe Bend has surged in recent years, largely due to exposure on social media. What was once a local favorite has now become a major tourist destination, attracting over 2 million visitors annually. The overlook is now a fee area with a $10 charge per vehicle as of 2021. Despite its popularity, the awe-inspiring view from the steep cliff above Horseshoe Bend continues to captivate all who visit, especially during sunset when the natural beauty of the area is on full display. Thank you for watching. Comment to share what you think in the comment section below. Remember to like and subscribe to see more videos. Also, click on the video showing on your screen for more of this.